Make your life easier.
Simple Tech explained.
Hey legends, in today's tutorial I'll show you how to create a smooth camera movement using parallax, turning a flat image into a realistic 3D scene. First things first, let's open a new composition, set the width to 1920, height to 1080, frame rate to 30, and a duration of 40 seconds. That should be plenty. Next, let's create a solid layer. The color doesn't matter right now. We rename the layer BG. We will add the gradient ramp from effects panel. For the background, I'm going with a mix of blue and gray. It gives that clean tech look. Now let's download 4 pictures, 3 of men and 1 of a woman. We'll use these for our parallax layers. Alright, let's drop our 4 images into the composition and line them up in the order we want. Alright, let's turn off the pictures for now. We'll use them in a bit when we start building the parallax. Now let's create a text layer. I'm typing parallax effect. I'm using Helvetica with a font size of 234. Next, we'll align our text to the center of the composition. Once everything's ready, we can turn all our layers into 3D. Next, enable 3D mode for the bottom 3 layers. Alright, let's bump the background scale up to 600. Now let's move this background layer on the z-axis to 8000. This pushes it far back in 3D space, which helps create that deep parallax effect. Now let's position our parallax effect text in 3D space. I'm setting the position to x negative 187.8, y negative 30.4, and z 6666.7. Let's switch to 2 views. Right now, the first view is set to top view and the second one is active camera. This helps us see our 3D layers from above while also keeping an eye on the final camera view. Having both views like this makes it easier to line up all the layers in the right order. That's what gives us the parallax effect. In top view, you can highlight the layer and see this layer in top view. This is one of the most important steps, placing the layers correctly in 3D space so the camera can move freely through the scene. So let's come back to the project. Next, we'll press S to reveal the scale settings and set the value to 200%. We will flip this image vertically. Now let's position the image of the woman. I'm setting the position to X 1128, Y 14, and Z 5333.3. All right, let's bring the woman's picture a bit lower on the Y position just to balance the composition. Now let's bring in the first man's layer. Now press S for scale and increase it to 250%. All right, hit P to open the position settings and let's place this layer at 2262 x 990 on Y and 4000 on Z. Now let's enable the second man's image. Now press S for scale and increase it to 200%. Next, press P to reveal the position property. Set it to X negative 360, Y 1036, and Z 2666.7. Let's reveal the last layer. Press S for scale and bump the value to 180%. All right, hit P to open up the position and we'll set it to X 2707, Y 990, and Z 1333.3. Now we'll create a new camera, choose 2-node camera, and set the focal length to 50 millimeters. Let's create a null object. We convert to 3D object. Now we parent camera to null object. Now press P for position, and let's start moving the camera into the right place. All right, let's frame the camera so that right now we only see our parallax effect text on screen. I think this is perfect. All right, let's jump to the 202 mark in the timeline. Now we'll move the camera so that in the frame we can see both the woman and the text. The top view really helps here to guide the camera position in 3D space. I think this is perfect. Next, highlight both of the keyframes and apply Easy Ease by pressing F9. Now right-click on one of the keyframes and choose keyframe velocity. We will do both 65%. Next, let's run a preview. Looking good? Now let's move to the last keyframe and create a second null object. We parent to first null and convert to 3D. We press P for a position and create a first keyframe. We move keyframe slightly left. Now let's move the timeline to 4 seconds and 10 frames. All right, let's adjust the camera so we can see our parallax effect text, the woman and the first man together in the shot. I think this is perfect. All right, select both keyframes. Now hit F9 to Easy Ease and set both keyframe velocities to 65%. We'll use this same value throughout the project to keep all our animations consistent and smooth. I'm using an Easy Ease plugin for this step. It really speeds up the process and gives perfect velocity control instantly. I highly recommend trying it if you want to save time on your animations. Now let's preview. Looking good. Let's preview one more time. Now we go to last keyframe. And we create a third null object. We parent previous null to null number 3 and convert to 3D. We create a keyframe, a slightly move to left. And we go into second 620. Right now, we're moving the camera so we can see the text, the woman, and both men in the frame. The link for the Easy Ease plugin I'm using is in the description. It's not an affiliate link. I just really like the plugin and it saves a lot of time. All the project files are free to download from my drive if you want to follow along. I think this is perfect. So we will do the same thing, F9 and both velocity to 65%. And let's see the preview. It's coming together. We're moving to the last keyframe, creating a new null object. Then convert to 3D and parent to the last null. Press the P for position, create a keyframe and move slightly left. We go to second 910. Or let's do better, second 825. Next, we'll pull the camera back until we can see all the images along with our parallax effect text. This is where the full depth of the scene really comes to life. And now we'll move the camera a little bit on the y-axis. I think this is perfect. We F9 both of keyframes and make both velocity 65%. All right, press N. That'll set the endpoint for our preview area. Is looking good. We go to last keyframe, then we create a next null object. Let's create a keyframe. Convert null to 3D and parent last null to the last one. We move the keyframe to the left. We go to second 12. And now let's move the camera so we can see only the parallax effect text. Let's move the camera a little to the left, a little to the right, and add a bit of zoom. Okay, I think this is perfect. Let's F9 both of keyframes and set both velocity on 65%. We hit a preview. And now you can see the parallax effect in full effect. Let's make a couple improvements. First, we will add deep glow to parallax effect text. You can use regular glow as well. We copy an expression and change the radius to 50. We press Alt and click on the stopwatch to paste expression. Let's change the resolution to full. Oh yeah, that's looking clean. All right, the next thing we'll do is enable depth of field on the camera. This will add that nice blurry background effect. All right, let's bump the aperture up to 100. That'll give us a nice soft background blur. Now let's preview our piece of art. You can see how the camera glides from one person to the next, with that nice blur kicking in as it moves away from each image. Got stuck anywhere, just hit us up in the comments. We'll sort it out for you.